A Celtic legend has just publicly criticised Kasper Schmeichel after the Stuttgart defeat, and he didn't hold back. CBS Sports delivers a brutal verdict on where Celtic stand in Europe right now. Martin O'Neill makes a bold claim about the Premier League, and a teammate steps up to defend the goalkeeper. Plus, a club icon questions the fans' protest tactics. It's been another intense 24 hours at Celtic Park, but first, make sure you like this video and subscribe to the channel for more Celtic content. Former Celtic goalkeeper Pat Bonner didn't hold back when talking about Kasper Schmeichel's performance in the defeat to Stuttgart. The legendary keeper was watching closely as Schmeichel endured a difficult night at Celtic Park. Stuttgart punished mistakes, but Bonner's focus was on the decisions that led to those moments, rather than the finish itself. Celtic had worked their way back into the game after falling behind. Benjamin Nygren's goal had lifted the stadium. Then came another setback. For Bonner, the problems began well before the ball hit the net. Schmeichel's distribution has been questioned in recent weeks. Against Stuttgart, one clearance in particular stood out. Instead of relieving pressure, it invited it. Here's what Bonner said on BBC Sports Sound. "I was very much focused on the situation before it, when the ball comes back to him, and he kicks it, almost clears his lines, but kicks it away up into the air. The ball drops down to maybe about 45 yards out. That ball should have been up and over the halfway line and clear your lines. The next part comes from that. James McFadden called it better than me because I was annoyed by what I had seen just before that. That ball goes in just on his left shoulder, and it wasn't very far away from him. He shouldn't probably make the mistake. I would probably put that down to 2 errors from Kasper. You are saying, Jonathan Sutherland, you are the one in the studio, you are looking at the pictures. You are saying that Schmeichel, there are 2 goals he was at fault for. There is no question he has to do better. I am looking at it thinking, yeah, the first one, definitely. The second one, there was pace on the ball down to his right-hand side. In his heyday, he would have made that save. Bonner's point is simple. When you are under pressure, you clear the ball properly. Get it up the pitch. Do not knock it back into danger. Stuttgart picked up the loose ball and made Celtic pay. The second goal brought more questions. Schmeichel moved, but he did not get there in time. It was not out of reach. Bonner's comment about his heyday says plenty. It suggests he thinks the keeper of old would have saved it. That is the hard part for a goalkeeper. When standards are high, people remember what you used to stop. Every miss stands out more. Now for the main story, as Celtic's defeat to Stuttgart is still being picked apart, and the verdict from CBS Sports was blunt. Chris Whittingham and former USA international Charlie Davies did not dress it up. They went straight to the point. Celtic are not operating at the same level anymore. For all the noise around the club off the park, the issue on the night was simple. The team was second best, not unlucky, not hard done by, second best. Whittingham compared this side to the one that competed in Europe last season and made the knockout round, pushing Bayern until the final minutes of the tie. He said on CBS Sports Glasgow, "This is a squad that got rid of Nicholas Kuhn, who's now at Como. This is a squad that has gotten rid of multiple players that led them in this period where they did really well last year in the Champions League, where they made the knockout round and competed with Bayern until the very last minute of the tie. This is not that team anymore. They just don't have the same level of talent. And I think going into this game, I looked at this tie and thought, Stuttgart are just flatly better. We've seen them at their best in the home games that they've showed. The talent level, there is a disparity, and that showed today. And that is the one thing that no coach can mask, is that Celtic have taken a significant step backwards year over year in terms of the talent that they have in their squad, and Stuttgart revealed that today. It's hard to argue with that. Stuttgart looked sharper, quicker in thought, and more clinical. When both sides showed the same intensity, the difference was in quality. That is the uncomfortable truth. Davies echoed it, referencing the tension that saw Brendan Rodgers depart and Martin O'Neill step in to steady things. Brendan Rodgers fell out with the board, right, because he had bigger plans for Celtic. He continued, Martin O'Neill said, I'm going to get the best out of what I have and get players to kind of be bought in, which he did. But at this level, there's only so much you can do with fight and determination and heart, because in the end, if the team brings that you're playing against, then the quality is what you rely on. In other news, Martin O'Neill has said Celtic would not struggle financially in Europe if they were operating under the Premier League umbrella. He was speaking after the defeat to Stuttgart, a night that leaves the Hoops with a serious problem to solve in Germany next week. Celtic were flat for long spells. There were flashes, a bit of tempo here and there, but not enough control and nowhere near enough quality in the decisive moments. Stuttgart were sharper, more organised and far more clinical. It means Celtic are still chasing a first knockout win since 2004. O'Neill went straight to the financial gap when assessing the bigger picture. Speaking to TNT Sports, he said, "It's very difficult for Scottish teams in Europe. There's no money in that sense. You're talking about Premier League teams, Bundesliga teams buying players for 40 million to 50 million pounds and them not even playing, not getting into the side. Players in the Premier League in the last couple of seasons have cost 70 million or 80 million pounds and are transferred for 40 million pounds about 3 months later. So it's ridiculous. We have to try to compete with that. At some stage or another, we have to compete with that. That's the difficulty of it. You're trying to get players in at low cost because there's no money. Eventually, if the Scottish Premiership belonged to the Premier League, I don't think we'd have a problem. There is truth in the imbalance. English and top Bundesliga sides operate in a different financial world. That gap is real, and it shapes European competition. But Stuttgart are not a financial monster. They sold Nick Woltemade to Newcastle for 75 million euros in the summer and did not scatter the cash recklessly. Badreddine Bouanani arrived for 15 million euros. Bilal El Khanous, who scored twice at Celtic Park, is on loan from Leicester for a reported €3 million fee. That is not a squad built on £80 million bench warmers. It is a squad built with planning, structure and recruitment that fits a clear system. Lastly, Stilian Petrov doesn't believe the latest form of protest helped any cause as Celtic slumped to defeat against Stuttgart in what was a bleak evening inside Celtic Park. The former Celtic midfielder made it clear he felt the early protests did more harm than good on a night Martin O'Neill's side needed edge and energy. Supporters made their feelings known within seconds of kickoff. Bouncy balls were thrown onto the pitch, forcing a stoppage that lasted around 3 minutes. O'Neill himself was heavily critical of the protests, saying those responsible need their heads examined. The message towards the board was obvious. The disruption was deliberate. The effect on the team was just as obvious. Speaking on TNT Sports, Petrov said, the pressure from the fans on the board towards the players has been massive in the last couple of months. You play in one of the big European games, the manager's motivating you. That week you're training, you're preparing, then all of a sudden the adrenaline's up there. When you're trying to get the game going, it stops for 3 minutes. It kills the atmosphere. The fans are expecting a dynamic start. Like Neil Lennon said, you want to see Celtic flourishing, putting in a performance. Then all of a sudden everything stands still. Even Martin O'Neill, you can see in his face what is happening. This is a big problem for the players as well. They've been under so much pressure. Then all of a sudden they haven't found that intensity, that adrenaline to just kick on. They just stood still. Petrov's point was blunt. Celtic needed a fast start. Instead, the temperature inside the stadium dropped before it ever rose. The team should have shifted their focus back to their performance much sooner. Instead, they fell flat and paid the price. Stuttgart weren't this highly fluid, technically world-class team, but they didn't need to be. Kasper Schmeichel took heavy criticism as Stuttgart cut through Celtic too easily, but this was not on one man. That's all the latest Celtic news for today. Make sure to hit that like button, subscribe if you haven't already, and drop a comment below with your thoughts. I'll see you in the next one. Hail, hail.